The real voyage of discovery consists not in seeking new landscapes, but in having new eyes. Marcel Proust. In the realm of human relationships, I have always noticed that closeness is often seen as the key to connection, whether it be physical, emotional, or even spiritual. Society teaches us to value unity, to be close, to share every aspect of our lives with others. But over time, I began to realize that there is a less explored and equally essential aspect of human interactions: distance. I'm not referring to detachment or isolation, but rather a necessary space, an interval that allows each of us to preserve our essence, keeping our identity intact while engaging with others. This safe distance that I advocate for does not arise from a need for detachment or lack of interest, but rather from a deep understanding of the balance necessary for relationships to thrive. Just as in nature, where the balance between opposing forces ensures the harmony of the whole, I believe that in human relationships, the presence of an appropriate space can be the key to healthy coexistence. It is within this space that we find the freedom to be who we are, without the imposition or constant influence of the other, and where we allow the other to do the same. Reflecting on the role of space in human interactions, I realize that while many have praised unity and closeness, others recognize that the absence of clear boundaries can lead to wear and tear, loss of identity, and eventually the collapse of the relationship. To me, distance is not the enemy of connection, but its ally, offering the necessary oxygen for the flames of the relationship to burn steadily and lastingly. In this video, I propose a reflection on this balance. In a world that often confuses closeness with love, it is essential to understand that true connection does not come from the absence of space, but from the presence of a healthy distance that allows mutual growth. I will explore how this idea manifests not only in interpersonal interactions, but also in the way we relate to the world around us, and how different philosophical currents address this concept in a unique way. But before we continue, I would like to invite you to subscribe to my channel and activate the notification bell so you don't miss any updates. Also, don't forget to like the video, share it with friends and family, and leave a comment below. Your support is very important to me. Reflecting on the idea of safe distance, I realized that this concept is deeply rooted in various philosophical traditions, each offering a unique perspective on how we should relate to the world and to others around us. Throughout history, different schools of thought have addressed the balance between closeness and distance, highlighting the importance of setting boundaries to preserve our identity and inner peace. In Stoicism, for example, I found particular value in the notion of maintaining an emotional distance from external circumstances. The Stoics believed that the key to a virtuous and tranquil life lies in our ability to separate what we can control from what is beyond our reach. It is this emotional distance that allows us to face adversity with serenity, without being overwhelmed by uncontrolled passions or unbridled desires. I see this practice as a protective shield, a way to maintain inner harmony, even when the world around us seems to be in chaos. In Existentialist philosophy, the idea of distance takes on a different but equally crucial role. Philosophers like Jean-Paul Sartre and Simone de Beauvoir argued that human existence is defined by individual freedom and the responsibility to create meaning in an indifferent universe. In this context, distance manifests itself in the need to establish a separation between the self and the other, a space that allows us to explore our own identity without being completely absorbed by the expectations and definitions imposed by society. To me, this separation is essential for self-knowledge and for building an authentic life, where I can define my own values and purposes. In Eastern philosophical traditions, particularly Taoism, distance is seen in an even more fluid way. The concept of wu wei, which can be translated as action without effort or non-action, suggests that we should harmonize with the natural flow of things without forcing situations or clinging excessively to control. Here, distance is not just a means of protection, but a way of allowing things to follow their natural course. I have learned that by adopting this attitude, we can avoid the emotional and physical exhaustion that often accompanies the attempt to control the uncontrollable. It is an invitation to recognize the limits of our influence and to act in accordance with the natural laws of the universe. These different philosophical approaches lead me to a deeper understanding of the importance of distance in our lives. In all of them, distance is not seen as a barrier that separates us from others or the world, but as a vital space that allows healthy coexistence, personal growth, and inner harmony. Each philosophy offers a unique perspective on how we should manage this space, whether through emotional control, the affirmation of individual freedom, or the acceptance of the natural flow of things. Considering these ideas, I realized that the safe distance I value so much is not merely a technique of self-preservation, but a fundamental principle for building more balanced and authentic relationships. It is through understanding and respecting this space that we can find a balance between closeness and separation, between involvement and autonomy. And by doing so, I believe that we can achieve a form of coexistence that respects both the individuality and interdependence that defines our human condition. When I began to explore the concept of safe distance, I realized that for a long time, I associated closeness with affection and distance with disinterest or coldness. In fact, the idea of maintaining a certain distance, whether physical or emotional, always made me uncomfortable. I believed that being close, sharing everything, was the essence of a healthy relationship. However, over the years, my experiences and reflections led me to a deeper and more balanced understanding of the role of distance in human interactions. I recall moments when the absence of clear boundaries in my personal relationships ended up creating emotional exhaustion. There was a constant sense of fusion, where my needs, desires, and even my identity became intertwined with those of others. This type of closeness, which I believe to be a sign of deep connection, actually generated an emotional overload. I felt pressured to be constantly available, to be an extension of others, and this eventually drained my energy and inner peace. It was then that I began to reflect on what it really means to maintain a safe distance. I realized that this distance does not imply isolation or indifference, but rather a deep respect for the other's space, and above all, for my own space. I understood that for any relationship to flourish, there must be a balance between being together and preserving individuality. It is within this space that mutual respect is created, where each person can truly be themselves without the pressure to conform to the expectations of others. This realization brought me a new perspective on my relationships. I began to notice that when I established clear boundaries and respected the need for space, relationships became healthier and more enduring. For example, in friendships, where I previously felt suffocated by the constant need to be present, I learned to communicate my need for time and space for myself. The result was surprising. Instead of weakening the friendship, this honesty strengthened our bonds, because both I and my friends began to respect each other's individual needs. Furthermore, I began to apply the concept of safe distance in my daily life, not only in interpersonal relationships, but also in how I relate to the world. I realized that by maintaining a certain distance from stressful or chaotic situations, I can approach challenges with more clarity and balance. This distance allows me to observe things with a broader perspective, without being immediately absorbed by the emotions of the moment. And, paradoxically, this distance has helped me to be more present because I am not constantly struggling to maintain my composure or reacting impulsively. Another important aspect I learned throughout this process is that the safe distance also applies to the way I relate to myself. There is a tendency in all of us to cling to certain ideas, behavioral patterns, or even to images we create of ourselves. This attachment can be suffocating and prevent us from growing. By maintaining a distance from these rigid ideas and perceptions, I allow myself to change, evolve, and explore new aspects of my identity. This practice of detachment, which I found in various philosophical and spiritual traditions, has been fundamental to my personal growth. Reflecting on the role of distance in my life, I have come to the conclusion that it is, in fact, a form of care. Care for myself and for others. By respecting the space necessary for each of us to grow and develop, I am cultivating healthier, more balanced, and more genuine relationships. And this, to me, is the true essence of a safe distance. Now, I invite you to reflect on how safe distance applies in your own life. Where do you need more space? Where can you offer more space to others? By answering these questions, you will be able to build more balanced relationships and a more harmonious life. Thank you for joining me on this journey of reflection. I hope this conversation has been as meaningful to you as it has been to me. Please subscribe to my channel. Don't forget to like the video, share it with friends and family, and leave a comment. Your support is essential to keep me motivated to bring more valuable content to our community. Until next time.